Welcome into the GASO Rundown. I am joined by Blue Zertuche and Michael Timmins. We're going to be talking about Bryan College Station. Had a lot of fun teams last week. Most notably, we're just going to kick it off. Derek Dion, this is for you. ATX Lockdown. They were great again. Won their third GASO championship. You've talked about Joseph Waring and just how he's stepped up his game to another level. Why don't you expand?
I just think the confidence that I saw from him, he knew he was the best kid on the court often this weekend, and it kind of showed, hitting big shots, whether there was closeouts from the perimeter onto him. He just was ready to shoot and fire, and caught a body that I didn't, unfortunately, was able to get, but, he just kind of showed the total package, and with Aaron Jacob committing, and congratulations to him, he was the kind of taller, versatile wing with size for that squad, along, with Hudson Johnson and Josh Goings that, are the guards that kind of break them down. He had the kind of a little bit longer, taller kind of perimeter action for them.
Yeah, and not to take away from anybody on that ATX team, but their two best, could be notably their two best players weren't even there. Aaron Jacobs has now signed with Southeastern Oklahoma, and Zach Ingalls was out with a foot injury. And so for those guys to step up and get their third, people are going to have to start taking notice. We've already talked about it, I think, in the last championship podcast. Derek Dion should be able to get. There's going to be college coaches out there to see a little bit of everything, as we've talked about. The mix, the toughness, the blue collarness of those players.
And going back to Own the State, that was one of the first round matchups between Beast Up and ATX Lockdown, and Beast Up with Austin Benigni and Austin. I don't know how to say her last name, bro.
I got you, Benigni.
And Zuby were on that Beast Up team, and it went back and forth, and we knew right away that one, we liked Beast Up a lot to make a run prior to that, but we also said, hey, they might not get out of the first round with that type of matchup. So, yeah, Derek Dion and that team, is one that coming around live period, they should be able to get some really good games.
And they'll be at the July 8th or 11th NCAA Open period at GASO, so it should be fun to see all the college coaches line up to watch them play.
Yep, another team that made an impression, didn't quite get there, but was a very, very talented group, FFE.
Athletic.
They got a slew of guys. One in particular, Jameer Turner, Ridge Point. I kind of heard his story. He's a 6'5", kind of wing, but he's on the ball quite a bit. And he grew recently. And, man, that guy gets to the mid-range, pulls up. He can make tons of shots. He's a fun watch. They got a little guard named Jay Gilmer.
Yes.
The fastest kid on the court. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Something's going to happen.
Yeah.
The end-to-end speed of him was really good. And then Talik Evans, the shooter, he made shots all weekend long. FFE, I hope to see them again because they're a really good watch and a really tough out.
Yeah, like I said, their athleticism, they have some brutes in the middle of the paint that are going to go rebound and really make it tough on
Chris Barnett,
on their opponents. Yeah. And so they did a great job this week.
And what I love about Jameer is, he does get to the mid-range, but he also elevates and shoots it as high as he can. So he can get wherever he wants. He kind of reminds me a little bit of the way Jalen Lake from Waxahachie, now going to Colorado State, gets to his spots in the mid-range and just elevates, and you can't block that when you jump that high. So he's getting to his spots, and he gave me some of those vibes in the mid-range.
Yeah, really, really, really nice player. Shifting to Imperial Drew, another GASO champion this weekend. Alan Singleton, point guard. He has come a long way. Keeps getting better and better and better. And then Mason McBride. I don't know who wants to expand on who. I know you're a big Alan Singleton guy.
Well, first off, they're the best team, non-sneaker team in Houston, as Jimmy Hicks from RCS Sports has them ranked number 1 in the city, and rightfully so, because they went out there and they compete. They're very consistent in what they do in their game planning and how they play. And like Matt said, it starts with Alan Singleton.
I posted a tweet with a video this weekend. I said the mid-range isn't dead. And, it's one thing to get to the mid-range and shoot those shots, but, he was shooting them with pace, and he's just the floor general. And it's just watching them, I just felt like they always had a chance all weekend long with him running the show. He was shooting the 3-ball well, coast to coast. Just one of those guys, and, I love pace so much from a point guard position. So he was able to know where to score at all 3 levels that he was able to get to this weekend. I thought that showed off big time.
Yeah, and let's mention this about Alan Singleton. The one thing is we just stumbled upon him during the high school season as we're looking at some other players. We're like, this is the guy we should be watching right now. And he has gone from being non-ranked up into the top 100, and he's just setting his, like you said, he's setting his pace even in the rankings that he's going to continue to move up. very, very good, just all-around player.
Another thing I was impressed about with Imperial Drew is they are very well coached. They all play together. They have great role players. Caden McKenzie, one being. They shoot it well. And then Mason McBride, they do have a guy who can go get buckets. He's a 2021. He is still available. He's got a lot of talent and a lot of go. And, they're just a fun group to watch. They're well coached. They play hard. And they play defense. And that's going to get you a long way in the summer.
One thing about Mason, it seems like that rim is always at eye level for him. He's so quick off the dribble. Transition, he's going to punish the rim, but just off the perimeter, getting the ball and getting that one step ahead of the defender, you can't catch him.
Yeah, they were throwing it to him around like the elbow areas and stuff like that. He was able to turn and face and just go. Whether there was a defense that was compact or not, he was able to slice to the defense and get up and finish.
Pro Skills Lee. We have seen them at a few GASOs. They won the first one they came to. We upped their competition significantly in April 23 to 25. Now they come. They make it to the finals. They don't quite get the championship, but they've got a lot of pieces to like. Another very well-coached group, starting with Jaden Clemens. We are all pretty big fans. He's a pace guy.
Pace guy with good frame. So with that pace, and you're able to dictate where your defender is, you can keep him on your hip and still be able to go create. A lot of times when defenders latch onto you, you're worried about them and worried about the decisions you're trying to do. His frame and his pace allow him to be like, okay, I got you on my hip. I still know what I'm going to do. And he finished with crafty finishes, floaters, reading the defense within the paint. I really liked him a lot.
Yeah, and he's going to go to Hebron, where Eric Ryle is probably so excited because of that group that's coming through in the 2023s. And for this league group here, this Pro Skills 16U league, they're all 2023s. They have a lot of depth at a lot of the positions. Just going down their roster here with Jaden Clemens, and you have Luke Lee from Wakeland.
He's gonna have to play a much bigger role next year for Wakeland.
Right, but out here, I think he was really showing that he can take on that challenge of the soft mid-range jumper, the turn around the face up, soft touch from all over the place, and rebound, gutsy player, and then you go to Carson Templin, that I think we all can agree that we really like.
Yeah, I love the edge he brings. He can stretch you out from the perimeter, and then he's just a go hard in the paint. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to get trash buckets. And I saw him in the transition a couple times, bust dribble out and go and pitch the ball ahead and make some plays in transition. Carson, he's not the first guy that is just going to stand out, but over the course of just continuing to watch him, I want guys like that on my team.
Yeah. And for those basketball junkies out there, Sam Lowe said that he's a poor man's Brad Buckman, who was a McDonald's All-American back in like 2001, 2002, played at University of Texas and Austin Westlake. And I think that's a huge compliment for someone like Carson, who was not the focal point at Lovejoy this past year. But he's going to get a lot of touches, I'm sure, moving forward because he's so versatile.
And what I kind of liked about that team capping off Pro Skills Lee was all the guys we kept saying, wow, I like this kid a lot. Credit to their coaching staff because they were always put in a position to be productive. Whether it was Lee, a lot of those short corner shots, just kept knocking them down from spots they were comfortable in. And I just felt like all of their players were able to produce because they were in the right positions to produce, and they were able to play the way their game allows them to play, opposed to just rolling the ball out there and just hooping.
Yeah, Coach Lee is the head coach of Frisco Wakeland, and not bad to have a 25-plus game winner coach from this past year on the sideline for you.
Yeah, there's zero doubt about it. Austin Anderson played as a high school group this weekend, which was fun for us because we've seen ATX Future play, and two of their better players, Jack Francis and Mike Wagner, kind of got to be alphas on this team and play a little bit different role. I really enjoy watching Jack and Mike has a little flair to his game. Jack
absolutely.
Can really shoot it.
Yeah, I think both of them are gamers. One of my best friends, Brandon Green, who's the coach of the ATX Future team, told me before, like I saw them, hey, watch these two kids, they're up for the moment. And you can see flashes from Mike Wagner doing some nifty behind-the-back passes back on the stage against Southern Assault and Keontae George matchups. So I think, it was refreshing to have them lead their program. And a lot of times, fans, media, other teams will see, this is just a high school team playing. They obviously don't have a lot of talent, and we're going to do the thing. Yeah. But, Austin Anderson made it all the way to the championship in the bracket, and credit to those two leading the way because they were up for the moment.
Yeah, and they just play so well together. I think that's the uniqueness of bringing a high school team into a GASO, which we can probably say we enjoy it just because you get to see them in a different type of chemistry. You see their chemistry. You see they're in their most natural environment, and like you said, Nate Langley, he was fun to watch. Just you weren't expecting much from them when you look at them in the as a prospect, but all of a sudden, boom, this guy's taking it from the perimeter, taking 2 dribbles, spin move, finish around the rim, get off the floor to rebounds. Same thing with Jack Francis. Jack Francis, I think, is a little bit of a sleeper here. How much are people going to be talking about him in the coming weeks? Because he's got a great body and just the ability to knock down perimeter shots, and we even saw the mid-range and the floaters.
I think he's one of those kids that coming through live period, he has the ability to go on a run by himself. I've seen it multiple times this summer, 6, 9, 10 points in a row for them, and you're like, wait a second, who is this kid?
Yeah. On the state, I think he had a game with 26.
Yeah.
I mean, he can go. That group's fun. Mike brings the flair.
And even down in San Antonio against Houston Superstars, they were getting beat by quite a bit in that game, and all of a sudden, in that second half, I think he had 15 or 17 points in that second half just alone. So he's definitely one that can fill it up quick. Gotta
like him. Team Nation, talk about
they got it.
They got it. They won it. Very happy for them. They're a great group to watch because they just have prospects all over. Mm-hmm. They run 10 deep, and a lot of good players, a lot of good things to like. One guy in particular who I thought really took it up a level this week from when we saw him in San Antonio. It was Jordan Davis from Waxahachie. I'm just seeing a little bit different aggressiveness with him. He's shooting the ball well, and he really got after it. He's turning into a Greg Gober guy.
Yeah.
And that's always a good thing.
It's a scary thing for opponents, and I think that he brought that out there to the courts this week in College Station, and he was so dependable on the outside of knocking down threes. There was times that he would get 2 or 3. He was hitting them in bunches this weekend, and then his ability to distribute the ball and also get past the defender was huge for that Team Nation team that added Kristen Whitaker this weekend from Kennedale, 6'5", 6'6", interior player.
Talk about looking down at the rim. I mean, he tries to break it every single time. He is some kind of athletic, and he's strong. Another guy who was really, really impressive this weekend, Kijon Atkins, got a lot of wiggle to him. And then he'll rise up and try and put one down on you. He is, I know he has a unique story. He just moved in from Seattle. He's a name to watch, and he can really make some plays, get downhill, and distribute to some of these guys who can score it.
Even when he's only scoring 6 points in a game, he makes you remember those 3 field goals that he made.
Oh, yeah. He's, like I said, I'm a camera guy, and he's one of those guys that, if I'm like, hey, I don't really know what I want to film right now, but he's on the court, I'm going to stay around. A little bit longer. Explosive plays, and doesn't start for them, but when he comes in, he's the spark they're needing, whether it's just to give some confidence to their team to know that, hey, they're in this game. But yeah, he's must see. Playing for that leadership prep team that just won their state championship, building a really good culture over there along with CJ Luster.
Yep.
He's definitely a name to continue to watch.
Going to go ahead and move on to HD Toros. One thing about the HD Toros, you'd much rather play them at the beginning of the season than the end because they get better and better and better. Ryan Garza in particular was really good this weekend.
Yeah, he's just one of those guys that Lou just continues to mold and turn into just a confident guy. Good size, decent pop. He's just one of those guys that if you don't commit to guarding him from the jump and realize that he's a focal point of that offense, he's going to give you buckets over and over again. And, Lou does a great job of putting those kids in position, but, he was just one that Lou put him in a position, said go get a bucket, and he was able to score from all 3 levels. Catching on the perimeter, facing up, jab, step, shooting with the defender in his face. I mean, he did a lot of things that I really liked.
And that's a good point about Lou is that you gave him more time to get these guys in the gym and get them gelling. That they are going to make their runs in June and in July, facing some of the best teams.
Yep.
And so
Braxton Burdick, Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, he's got really good size, quickness off the bounce, quickness off the dribble. Gets inside to score, and then you leave him open, he's just going to bury him.
Bernie Champion has a lot of guys that I feel like we've liked this summer, and there's a reason.
This weekend.
This weekend, they've won a lot of games, and they didn't even have Santiago Ochoa. We're still chomping at the bit to see him.
And with him, when he comes back and turns into that true floor general, I think the stock for a kid like Shane Perales goes up even more.
Yes.
You know, because Shane is their primary ball handler. If you can get Santiago back, which I'm hearing is hopefully sometime this month,
Yes.
Shane, one, doesn't have to take on the burden of bringing the ball up the court and doing all that, and he can turn into the scoring bucket getter he is. So that's one thing to look out for with that HC Toros team.
And I think with Shane, the most important thing is that he doesn't. He stays who he is in his basketball game. So you're not looking for anything different from one GASO to the next. You just know that he's reliable on the basketball court, and I think that says a lot for a kid when you're not watching them and they're always up and down. He's a consistent fixture for that HC Toros.
And what I like about him is that obviously we know he can score, but the way he scores, he doesn't just go out there and just jack shots. You know, when he knows he's on, he'll go heat check himself, but he's not going to shoot his team out of the game.
Yeah.
Really talented pick and roll player. I love watching Shane Perales. Yeah. He does a lot well. We're gonna jump a little younger here. Team Fox. We enjoyed having them out this weekend. They showed a lot of talent. Most notably, Jacoby Osborne, 6'4", long, lanky kid. Talk about a kid who doesn't try to do too much. He just imposes his will on the game through steals, assists, shooting, getting to the rim, and he's really unselfish about it. I really like the prospect of him.
Yeah, going into this event, I knew they were coming to the GASO, and they had played really well in the Circuit League, and he was actually the MVP of the 15U division. And, you know, looking at that stat line, did a little bit of everything. So I knew going in he was going to be able to block shot steals, but, you know, he really impressed me. And it's just the small things, rebounding the ball in traffic for a 2024 kid, tipping shots and blocking shots without fouling, things like that really impressed me well.
And also defending on the perimeter. I mean, because you talk about the length and the lankiness of him. Yeah, he can hit the three. He can go in and get himself a layup at the rim. But defensively, he's very long on that perimeter to force the ball away from the middle. And that's going to – that, along with, you know, being a guard and being only a freshman, he's going to continue to go in the right direction.
And the one game I filmed against the New Era Basketball, they have some unsigned seniors on that team as well. So for them to step into that challenge as all freshmen playing in that and having a chance to win in that game late really showed me a lot.
I couldn't agree more. Christopher Mcdermott's another guy, kind of played the big role. You showed me a video after I walked in. I said, man, I like this Christopher Mcdermott kid.
And I was like, watch this.
You're going to like him more. He back to the basket, takes one dribble, shimmy shake, goes over his right shoulder, left-handed hook. And I'm like, freshman, right-handed kid shooting a left-handed hook? We're like, whoa. Yeah. Pogo stick, gets off the ground, can do a little bit of everything, can switch on the perimeter. They've got some guys that we need to continue to be aware of and continue watching that group grow.
And I think that's a key to the Great American Shootout as we get into the summer months and people are, you know, there's some teams that are going out and playing at colleges, team camp stuff. It gives us a chance to focus on different players.
Yes.
And so there's so much variety at a Great American Shootout that I'm always happy to sit down and evaluate somebody new.
Yeah.
And I think that started with that Team Fox.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. We're going to shift into players. Dylan Glover being one of note out of Bryan High School. He's got a lot to like. I mean, when you can shoot it like he does, he's playing a little more on the ball, I think, than off the ball, where I think he might translate more so in the college game. But you're not really missing a beat, and he can go score it. He can pass it. He makes great decisions. What do y'all think of him?
I like him. I think he's one of those guys that knows, one, playing with this Bryan school, he knows where all of his teammates are supposed to be. You know, it's kind of summer basketball with them, and when you're playing with your high school and not an AAU team, so they're probably not practicing. They're all doing different things. Yeah. They come together this weekend. He's running the show, pointing, hey, be in the corner here, and he's attacking and giving his teammates chances. You know, obviously he can go score and get to his spots in the mid-range and shoot the three, but, you know, he's just a prospect that I like, and he continues to get better.
Yeah.
Knocks down a lot of shots.
Yeah. A guy that also can make a shot or two that you really enjoyed watching, Braden Baum. Yeah. San Antonio Future 2023. He goes to Bernie Champion. That's a theme with them.
Yeah,
man.
They were good last year. I think they're just going to get better. And Braden is 6'5", and man, he's got arms, that long wingspan, able to handle the ball with a high skill level. The Hines group at times were kind of up and down, but you can see it from him. And so I can't wait for the next GASO here in Austin, because I think a lot of our eyes are going to be on him, see how good can this guy be, because I think that he could be peaking for sure a Division I, maybe a high mid-level guy, but it's definitely going to be one to kind of keep tracking as we get into the rankings here too for the 2023 class.
Yep. I want to hit on 2 kids. Okay, we had a group. Let me set this up. We had a group come in from Hawaii to Bryan College Station, so we were so interested in going to see those guys. And man, they came in. They performed. In particular, Landon Jumawan and Jacob Brown. Landon, a little thicker body, 6'2". He had a 30-point game. He really scored the ball nicely. And then Jacob Brown, a lot of grit, a lot of toughness. Really shot it.
I think in general that Hawaiian team, they came here to compete, not for a vacation. And they came in and they competed, and they had a really great team ball concept going on. And you might not think much of a Hawaiian team coming over to the States and playing a bunch of athletes, but they really put together a string of wins there. And they won early in the GASO.
I think they finished 3-2, so it was overall a really good weekend. Enjoyed watching them. Moving on to another group, Triumph. Daniel Son. We saw Davion Scott and Daniel Son really have a really nice performance. Daniel goes really hard. He's got some shake to him. He's 6'6" out of Aledo. He can dribble the ball, and then he can go in and be really active and an Energizer Bunny on the boards. I really liked him. You liked Davion Scott. We were sitting there.
Yeah, so
tell this story. This is fun.
So at halftime of one of their games, I mean, I'm sure they were up a little bit, but at halftime, we were sitting in the corner of the baseline, and he walks over to get some water. And Mass was like, "Hey, let me get a picture real quick," like just for the scouting and everything like that. And he was like, "Okay." And I said, "Hey, just because you got your picture, don't start playing any different." And he proceeded, I think, score 6 or 8 straight points in the second half.
Yeah, and that usually goes one of 2 ways. Right. It either goes really bad or really good.
I was like, watch Mass, he might start jacking shots up and really look bad. But no, he turned it up, and he was consistent all weekend. And as far as Daniel San, he's one of those guys that runs well in transition. He's kind of one of their post big man in that lineup, but runs well in transition and cuts well and has good hands. So he's very productive and efficient when attacking and in Dallas, I think our spring GASO in April went baseline against the Pro Skills ATX team and dunked on a kid. So, he has a lot of tools that I really like.
Yeah. Gunter Daniels, Syntax Attack, got some sauce to him. You liked him.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Got some sauce. He's handling the ball out there as a 6'4", 6'5", wing guard for Syntax Attack Parish. And that's another group that we'll see here at our Austin event. And you see a little bit of the ball handling skill, then you see a little bit of the catch and shoot, the penetration and dish, and it just happens all throughout a game that where he just kind of gradually throughout the College Station, he put it all together. I circled him because it's ranking time, and that's what we want to see.
Heck yeah, at that size, that stuff can really translate. Chris Villarreal played a great game, him and Shane. Fun watching them compete together, and I thought that brought out a lot of Chris's best. What did you think, Timmins?
Yeah, that FAOT HE Toros game, the Chris Villarreal Shane Perales matchup, I really was enjoyed to see, and you can tell there was a mutual respect there, but they both want to get after it, and I think Chris Villarreal had one of his better performances. Just, Toros won that game going away pretty handily, but I felt like Chris inserted himself in that game regardless of what the score was and really competed well.
Yeah, he shot it really well.
Shot it well. And once he's shooting it well, he's always been crafty. But when the shot's falling, it almost like the court opens up a lot for him to make the plays and get his teammates involved.
And when you talk to a San Antonio fan, they're either going to go pro Shane or pro Chris. I think they're different in their styles. And Chris, when he goes out there and competes and he starts getting that jumper going, that's where he's the most dangerous. And it was good to kind of see him be more just confident, I think, overall, and seeing that shot fall because, Fayad has been a little bit up and down. They're going to win a bunch of games, and then they might lose a game or two that you go, what happened to them? So that was good to see the confidence come back.
Yeah, for sure.
Lastly, I want to wrap this up with a 2021 from Austin Crockett, Jarrell Peoples.
Yep.
He's played well at multiple of our events. He's a super athlete.
Yeah.
He can shoot it. He's unbelievable in transition. He blew you away with some of the plays he made.
He was very strong at the basket. I'm talking about strong when the defender was coming. He was able to get his arm out there, create that separation, go finish. He was doing it with really good body control, so he wasn't just throwing guys off of him. But there is a legit burst from that wing position. He's getting the ball and he's getting to the basket with limited amount of dribbles. Like I said, body control. He's hitting some jumpers. He's one of those guys that's leading his team out there, calling out their names to get them in position. And I'm like, man, the kid has grades to go somewhere. This could be a really nice pick up here this late in this early June, but late in the 2021 class.
And what I like about him, oftentimes you see some unsigned seniors at this time of the year that think they're too better or too good to be out here, so they don't really play with the motor. The way he was crashing the offensive boards, one, I get that you're athletic, so every time you crash, it has the opportunity to be a tip dunk and a highlight. But two, he was making winning plays for his team, hitting threes when it mattered in games, like that Team Fox game. That second half, he was one of the reasons why they were able to pull that game out. I just think some of his intangibles and his leadership, knowing that he's unsigned 2021, he's out there playing like he needs to be out here playing.
Yeah, the sense of urgency.
Yeah.
That is always a key in when you're talking about the unsigned senior, and he's putting it together.
That's going to wrap up this Bryan College Station edition of the GASO Rundown. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.
All right.